Thank you, Coach Marcus. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Night Leadership Development Training. My name is Jessica Hill, and before we hear from tonight's incredible trainer, it is time for our Elevate and Execute tip. Tonight's Elevate and Execute tip is this: be faithful in the small things. Sometimes we get so focused on the next big goal, the next opportunity, or the next breakthrough that we overlook what has already been placed in our hands. We start thinking that when something bigger comes along, then we'll really show up. But one thing I've learned is that how we handle what we have right now matters. How we handle the small responsibility, how we treat the person who needs our help, how we follow through when nobody is checking on us, and how we show up when there's no recognition attached to it. Those things may seem small, but they say a lot about who we are becoming. I truly believe that when we are faithful with what God has already placed in our hands, we are preparing ourselves for what He has for us next. And sometimes I have to remind myself to stop looking so far ahead and ask, am I being faithful with what God has already given me? Because sometimes we're asking for a bigger opportunity while overlooking the opportunity that's already right in front of us. So this week, take a look at what's already in your hands, the people you can serve, the commitments you've made, the opportunities you already have. Take care of those things well, because how you handle the small things today may be preparing you for the bigger things you've been praying for tomorrow. And speaking of leadership, stewardship, and serving others well, tonight we are honored to hear from someone who continues to lead by example. Coach Seymour Greenidge Blake consistently demonstrates what it means to show up, invest in others, and serve with purpose. As a multiple six-figure earner and respected leader, he has inspired and developed countless people, both personally and professionally. And I know tonight's training is going to bring tremendous value to everyone on this call. So wherever you are joining from tonight, lean in, remove distractions, and get ready to take notes. It is truly my honor and privilege to introduce a multiple six-figure earner, Coach Seymour Greenidge Blake.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for that warm and cordial invitation. Also, Coach Marcus, want to thank you, like always, for bringing this Zoom together for all of us every week, so I can all of us can actually get this message across to our team and our family that we have here with Zalara and the Green Organics. Tonight's going to be a very serious night, and I really want you guys to really be in a place where you're quiet, where it's quiet, where you can pay attention, where you're not distracted by anything, and have your pen and papers ready. And like I always say also, after the call is over and Coach Marcus put the replay up, I need you to go back, get that replay, and listen to it. Because this tonight, like I said, it's a very serious topic tonight. And I really want to get to you guys because we have a tremendous, amazing business in our hands. And some of us are actually procrastinating on what we have. And a lot of times people will not act upon what they have because of they're looking at the value of what it costs to get started. And a lot of us are looking at it was free to get started. And when you look at something and you think it's free, then you don't think it has value. But we have many people that it's in this business, a few people that earn $1 million in this business. People with six figures, high five figures. So you have $1 million business in your hand. But if you're not doing and working it the way that it should be working, you're working it as a hobby. You get paid like a hobby, and everybody know that hobbies don't pay. So tonight, I really want you guys to really pay attention to what I have to say tonight, because it might touch some of you in a sensitive way, but sometimes that's what we need to actually wake us up and get up off our tails and get out there and work this business. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and get off camera so I can bring this to you. And again, like I said, most of my teachings is not necessarily only about the business. It's about everything in life in general. So it's basically self-development, and that's what I want to bring to you tonight. So let's go ahead and get off camera so I can get started with this because it's already after 7. So first off, again, good night, everyone. I appreciate everybody being on here tonight to get this teachings. And before we get started, I want to start with a question that sounds simple, but I don't want you to answer it too quick. Okay, and the first part of the question, I want everybody to put in the chat. If this is you, put a 1 in the chat, and I'm going to ask the whole thing first, and then that way I don't have to ask each individual question, and you have to answer it each time. So everyone on this call, and I'm sure everyone on this call feels this way because I know I do. How many of you want your business to be a great business? You want your relationship with your significant other to be great. You want to have great health, and you want to have great financial freedom. If that is you, put a 1 in the chat. If you want to have great health, great business, great relationship with your significant other or your family, and great financial freedom, put a 1 in the chat. Now, this one, you don't have to answer it in the chat, but I want you to answer this one to yourself, and I want you to be serious and honest about the answer that you're going to give yourself. What are you willing to sacrifice for that greatness? Okay? What are you willing to sacrifice for that greatness? And I'm not talking about what are you willing to talk about, not what you're willing to post on Facebook, not what you're willing to say when you're motivated. What are you actually willing to give up? Willing to change? Willing to walk away from, discipline, and do consistently in order to become the person that you keep saying that you want to become? What are you willing to sacrifice? See, because everybody wants greatness until greatness sends you the bill. Everyone wants successful business. Every one of us want financial freedom. We all want a healthier body. We want stronger marriages. We want the recognition. Everybody wants to become a leader. And the biggest thing is that we all want to leave a legacy for our families. But greatness has never been free. Because somewhere along the journey, greatness is going to require something from you that comfort never will. See, next question. When you hear the word sacrifice, what immediately do you think about when you hear that word sacrifice? Put in the chat, put some statement in the chat of what you think when you hear the word sacrifice. Let me see what we think about when we hear that word. Everybody don't answer all at one time now. Come on, guys. Serve. I mean, I'm was willing to give up. Okay, so I see everybody now don't want to participate, but so this is what most people, when they hear the word sacrifice, they immediately think about actually losing something. But sacrifice isn't always about loss. Sometimes sacrifice is an exchange. So you're exchanging something of a lower value today so you can get something of a greater value tomorrow. You're exchanging temporary comfort for permanent growth. You're exchanging a few hours of entertainment for some education and you're exchanging excuses for discipline. You are actually exchanging who you have been for who you have the potential to become. See, I think it was last week. I was One of my partners came over and he had brought his son over, and he's 15 years old. And we were just talking, having communication. And I looked at his son and I asked him, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up in life? And let's see if y'all gonna participate this time. What do y'all think this young man told me he wanted to be when he grew up in life? If you have an idea, just put an idea of what you think his answer was. And let's see if I get some participation this time. Doctor, sport, pro athlete, social media influencer, like you. Okay, so I saw two answers that he actually gave. Three now. He told me he wanted to be a basketball NBA player. And we get that a lot, okay? Uh, so I asked him, and I knew he wouldn't really know the answer because he's still a young man at that age. I said, what are you willing to sacrifice in life to be that NBA player? And he didn't really have an answer for me because he didn't, and again, I expected him not to have an answer. So I said to him, do you know what NBA, NFL players have to sacrifice to become that player in life while they're out there playing? And he said, no, sir, what do they have to? And I said, if they have a family, a lot of them going to have to sacrifice missing the birth of their child. They're going to have to sacrifice not going, seeing, having, being there for their kid's birthday, there for Christmas, there for graduation. And if you're in the military, you have sometimes sacrificed the same because you might get deployed overseas somewhere and you miss your child's birth. These are so many things that we got to think about when we start thinking about how great we want to be in certain things in life. Because there's sacrifice that you're going to have to give up if you really want to be great. Okay? So that's why one of the biggest mistakes that people make is asking, what do I need to get to become successful? See, sometimes that's the wrong question that we ask ourselves. Maybe the better question is, what do I need to let go of? Because you may already have enough information. You may already have enough resources. You may have enough people to talk to. See, your problem might not be what you're missing. The problem might be what you're still carrying along with you. See, there are habits that cannot go where you're trying to go in life if you're trying to get better. There are attitudes that cannot go with you. You can't bring excuses with you if you're trying to go and get in a better place. Okay, sometimes there's even relationships that cannot go with you when you're trying to go somewhere greater. And at some point, you're going to have to decide whether you are more committed to protecting what is familiar to you or pursuing what is possible. So tonight isn't going to be a very comfortable conversation. I want you to think about your life, your business, your health, your finances, your relationship, your leadership, and your legacy. Because when this training is over tonight, I don't want you to ask whether you want to be great. I want you to ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price required for the greatness that I keep asking for? Understand that greatness has a price tag. Nothing extraordinary is built with an ordinary commitment, guys. We sometimes look at successful people and admire the finished product without even without studying what it cost them to build it. We see the business after it becomes successful, but but we see the body actually after the transformation. We see the leaders after the recognition, even the house and the car and the income and their lifestyle. But what we don't always see are the mornings that they got up when everybody was still sleeping, the nights that they kept working when nobody was actually applauding them, and the years when their dreams look foolish to everybody else except them. And the same thing will happen with us. See, because success becomes very dangerous when we romanticize the reward and we ignore the requirements. So you cannot look at somebody's harvest and assume that they didn't go through actually planting those seeds. Because before the harvest, there was dirt. Before the recognition, there was obscurity. Before the confidence, there were failures. Before the money, there was investment. And before greatness become visible, sacrifice was usually happening privately for those individuals. That's why you cannot compare your beginning to somebody else's breakthrough. You don't know what they paid. You don't know what they survived. And you don't know how many times they were told no. You don't know how many relationships changed because they decided to take their future seriously. And you don't know how many nights they actually questioned themselves and still got up the next morning and continued what they were working on to get those dreams fulfilled. So the question becomes, what does your dream cost? What does your dream cost? Because if you say you want to build a six-figure business, that's going to cost you. It's going to cost something for you to do that. If you say that you want to transform your health, again, that is going to cost something. If you want to become an exceptional leader, it's going to cost something. And biggest thing is if you want to leave your kids and your grandkids something, a legacy that they can actually build upon, trust me, it's going to cost something. See, the problem is that many people are trying to negotiate the price. They all want greatness. We all want greatness at a discount price. I was talking to someone earlier tonight, and she mentioned that she was trying to help somebody that said that their family needed some products that we had. And when she told him how much it cost, the individual said, "Oh, I thought you was going to give me that for free." That's the kind of mindset that those people have because they feel that if they paying for something that you have, they're going to make you rich. But those same people will be running around buying somebody else's last name like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Michael Kors to look rich. They want greatness at a discount. They want extraordinary results with ordinary efforts. They want leadership without the responsibility. They want health without changing the way that they eat. They want to have a successful business without talking to people. Remember last night I said, one of the biggest reasons why people don't join your business is because you never told them. You have to talk to people. You cannot have transformation without inconvenience, guys. But life does not work that way, okay? The size of your sacrifice will often reveal the seriousness of your desire. And when you truly decide something that matters, then your behavior begins to change. You stop saying, I don't have time, and you start asking, where am I wasting time? You stop saying, I can't afford it, and start asking yourself, how can I position myself to afford it? And that's when greatness stops being something that you admire and starts becoming something that you're prepared to pursue. So, my question to you is, are you willing to sacrifice comfort? See, because sometimes comfort can feel good, and that is why it can become very dangerous because it tells you you have done enough. Do it tomorrow. You deserve a break, even when you haven't done what you said you were going to do. And if you listen to comfort long enough, it can convince you that being comfortable is the same thing as being fulfilled. And your comfort zone is not necessarily a physical place sometimes, guys. It's a collection of behaviors where you already know the outcome. You know what happens when you stay there. There is a very little uncertainty, very little rejection, very little embarrassment, and very little risk. But you know what also there is? Very little growth. See, growth requires you to step into environments where you don't know everything, where you're not the best person in the room, and when you may have to fail, and I mean, and where you may have to fail before you figure it out. That's growth. Think about how many opportunities you missed because you wanted to be comfortable. You missed out because look, I remember when I first was told about Bitcoin when it was 10 cents a coin. But I wasn't comfortable with that because I didn't think it was real. I think, oh, that's one of them little tokens for them arcade games. Look at where Bitcoin is today. I missed out on it. How many of us missed out on Google when it first came out? Because you wanted to be comfortable. How many phone calls did you not make because you were afraid that somebody might say no to you? That's because comfort told you, take a break. You don't have to make that call. Do it tomorrow. How many videos didn't you record because you were worried about how you would look? How many people didn't you not approach because you didn't know what they would think about you? And how many opportunities did you watch past you because you wanted to certainly become, or before you wanted certainty to before you actually moved on it? You can't build an extraordinary life while making comfort your highest priority. At some point in life, you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to learn how to walk into rooms where you don't know anybody. You have to learn how to speak when your voice shakes. You have to learn how to start before you have all the answers. And you have to learn how to be a bigger and how to be a beginner again. Just imagine if Coach Marcus would have listened to that incompetent teacher that told him he needed to get a job where he works with his hands because he couldn't have a job where he's talking in public to people because he stuttered. Just imagine if you would have listened to that teacher. You think Coach Marcus would be where he's at today with this company, financial wise? Just imagine that. Okay. Comfort is very expensive because the payment doesn't come due immediately. That's what makes it deceptive. You can spend years being comfortable and not realize what it is costing you. Then one day you look around and realize 5 years have passed, 10 years have passed, and you're still talking about something that you were supposed to start years ago. Don't let that be any of us on this call. So I want you to ask yourself tonight, has comfort become more important to you than growth? Because if the answer to that is yes, then your first sacrifice has just been identified. You don't have to sacrifice your dream. You have to sacrifice the comfort that is keeping you away from it. So again, are you willing to sacrifice your excuses now? And y'all hear me say this all the time. We got to stop making excuses and we need to start turning those excuses into a reason why we need to change our current situation. Excuses don't pay the bill. They are very dangerous because most of them contain enough truth to sound legitimately to you. So you really might be tired. You really might be busy. Or you really might not have enough money. Might not have enough people who don't support you. You really might have experienced things that made your journey more difficult. But you know what? The fact that an excuse contains truth does not mean that you have to give it authority over your future. See, there are people who have turned their circumstances into permanent permission to remain stuck. And every time an opportunity appears, they pull out their explanation for why they can't do it. Every time someone challenges them, they explain what happened to them. Every time that they fall short, they have another reason. Eventually, the excuses become part of their identity. And at some point, you're going to have to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I do about it? See, that question puts power back into your hands. You may not control everything that happened, guys. You may not control what somebody else did. You may not even be able to control the economy. And you may not control the company, that you may not even control the people around you. But you know what? You still control your response. Even if you can't respond to any of those other things or control any of those other things, you can control your own response. There is times when I get up in the morning and I get up and I sit up and my back is killing me. But do you think I tell myself, oh my God, I'm gonna have one of those days? You know what I do? I lay back down for about a minute or two. I sit back up. And even though the pain is there, you know what I do next? I reach across to my little nightstand and I grab that pain lotion and I'll put it on my back and the pain goes away. And I say, good, I'm gonna have a great day. I don't let that pain control what my day is gonna be. And that's where when you start thinking positive, you are the only person who can change how your day is gonna be. Okay? When you sacrifice excuses, something very powerful happens. You become responsible. And responsibility is not a punishment, it is power. If everything is somebody else's fault, then somebody else has control over you, over your future. But the moment that you say, regardless of what happened, I'm responsible for what happens next. I just gave you that example. You take control back. Imagine what your life could look like 12 months from now if you stop explaining why you couldn't do something and start figuring out how you could. Imagine what will happen if every time your mind produced an excuse, you answered it with a solution. This is one of the reasons why every morning I get up and I watch that documentary, The Secret. It's been 4 years, but because that's implanted in my mind, I'm I'm always positive about everything I think about. I don't let negativity come around me. And I'm telling you, if you start programming your brain with the right information, the right food, trust me, you will start looking at things a lot different. Stop saying I don't have time and then look at your schedules. You don't have money. Stop saying that and then look at your spending. Stop saying I don't know how and learn. Nobody supports me. Then let's build without applauses. You don't need anybody to support you to build. When I first got into green organics, I had a sponsor that signed me in up. But after a while, he left. But that didn't stop me from growing because I didn't need him for me to build my business. I needed me to build my business. So again, you don't need somebody else to help you to move, to get you motivated to get out there because they're not supporting you. You have to get out there and build without that applause or without that help. And you do that by learning, following the system, staying plugged in. See, your excuses may explain where you are, but they do not have to determine where you finish. See, if greatness is really what you want, then excuses are one of the first things that must be placed on the altar. My next question is, are you willing to sacrifice some of your time? See, because we all have 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets 25 because they're more successful in life. Nobody gets 26 because they're wealthy. See, the difference is not how much time people receive, the difference is how intentional you use it. A lot of time we say we don't have time, but sometimes what do we really mean is we haven't made something a priority. So you can't find time to scroll. I mean, you can find time to scroll on Facebook or one of those social media the same way you can find time to watch television, you can find time to argue online, you can find time to have conversations that are not producing anything. Then when it's time to work on the dream, suddenly you're exhausted because you wasted all that time with all that other nonsense. And I'm not telling you you never have to rest, okay? Because rest is necessary. I'm talking about recognizing the difference between rest and distraction. See, because rest restores you so you can return stronger. Distraction consumes time without moving you forward. Some people are tired from working too hard towards their dreams. They are tired because their attention is being pulled in hundreds of actual directions. So you have to start treating time like currency because that's exactly what it is. The difference is that money can be replaced, but time cannot. If I lose $100, guess what? I can potentially earn that $100 back. But if I waste 3 hours, those 3 hours are gone forever. And that means that time may actually be more valuable than money sometimes. Okay? I want you to think about your goal. What could happen if you gave that goal one focus hour every single day for the next 365 days? Do you realize that's 365 hours? Invest into changing your future, team. Because what could happen is that if you stop waiting for a free day and start using the hour that you already have, hmm, just imagine the greatness that could happen. See, greatness isn't always asking you for your entire life. Sometimes it's just asking you for 1 hour, 1 hour that you're wasting. Sometimes the sacrifice isn't dramatic. Sometimes it's actually turning the television off. It's putting the phone down, waking up earlier. Sometimes it may be even saying, for this season of my life, my future deserves more of my time. So are you willing to sacrifice the need to be liked? Because that's what a lot of us do. Oh, they didn't like my post. That person don't like me, and we gotta sacrifice that. Sacrifice the need to be liked. It's it's difficult because what human beings naturally want acceptance. Okay, we want people to understand us. We want people to support us. We want family members to believe in us. But leadership becomes impossible when your decisions are controlled by everybody else's approval. There'll be people who will like you better when you weren't growing. How many times when you were growing up and you started dating and you heard your friends say to you, "Oh, ever since you got that girlfriend or that boyfriend, or we don't see him and her no more," because they're jealous. That's not them. They're not having the same happiness that you're having when you're with that person. Again, there will be people who will like you better when you weren't growing at all. Not necessarily because they're bad people, but because the old version of you fit comfortable into their expectations. And when you start changing, becoming disciplined, setting boundaries, thinking differently, and pursuing bigger goals, then you disrupt the relationship they had with the old you. That is when you hear, "You have changed." And sometimes the correct answer is, "Yes, I have." Because change was the assignment. You weren't supposed to remain in the same person forever. Growth requires change. Wisdom requires change. Experience shall change you. And if you're still thinking exactly the way that you thought 10 years ago, something is definitely wrong with you. Because greatness requires boundaries. There will be invitations that you have to decline sometime. I get constantly people throwing, "Man, you need to try and check this business out." I am locked in where I'm at, and nothing that you can use to change me right now. See, there will also be conversation that you stop participating in. We talked about a few months ago the eagle and the crow. You got to be the eagle. There will be people who don't understand why you're unavailable, and there may be people who interpret your discipline as arrogance, simply because they no longer have unlimited access to your time. Guys, you have to decide whether you're going to disappoint a few people temporarily or disappoint yourself permanently. Because when you constantly abandon your goals to keep everybody else comfortable, eventually you become resentful. You look around and you realize that everybody else received pieces of your time while your dream received the leftovers. You don't need everybody to understand your assignment. You need enough courage to obey it. So stop asking people who aren't going where you are for permission to become who you're supposed to become. The big question is, are you willing to sacrifice the old version of yourself? Are you willing to sacrifice that? Sometimes the greatest obstacle between you and your future isn't another person, guys. It's you. More specifically, it's the version of you that was designed to survive where you're being, but isn't equipped to lead where you're going. See, the old version of you has habits, and some of those habits can be bad. Some of them could be good, but the old version has fears. The old version responds to pressure in certain ways. The old version of you procrastinate. The old version may need validation. That old version may quit when things become difficult. And if you're going to enter a different level of life, then you cannot keep bringing the same identity into every new opportunity that comes in front of you. This is why personal development matters. See, your business cannot consistently outgrow you. Your leadership cannot consistently outgrow you. Your relationship cannot consistently outgrow you. And if you want something around you to change permanently, something within you usually has to change first. See, sometimes we become emotionally attached to who we used to be. We keep repeating stories about ourselves that no longer needs to be true. I'm not good with technology. I'm shy. And that was one of my biggest ones. I'm shy. We hear a lot of people say, I'm not a salesperson. I'm bad with money. I've always been this way. Every time that you say, I've always been this way, ask yourself whether you're describing your history or sentencing your future. You are allowed to become somebody your past doesn't recognize, guys. You're allowed to develop discipline. You didn't have you're allowed to develop discipline that you didn't have before. You're allowed to learn financial literacy, to become healthier, to become a leader. You're allowed to become confident. Your history explains you. It doesn't have to imprison you. See, sometimes becoming great feels like losing yourself. Why? Because you're losing the version of yourself that you know, that you have known for years. But you're not losing yourself. Yeah. You are meeting the person that you were capable of becoming all along. So are you willing to sacrifice immediate gratification? Are you willing to sacrifice the fear of failure? See, some people aren't afraid of working, guys. They're afraid of the work, that the work won't work. That's different. They're thinking, what if I give everything and still fail? And because they cannot guarantee the outcome, and they never fully commit. So we got to commit. See, failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is often part of the tuition because every mistake will teach you something. If you're humble enough to study it, every rejection strengthens something in your willing to keep moving. And if you're willing to keep moving, every setback exposes something that needs to be improved. The person who refuses to fail is also refusing to learn. Think about a child learning to walk. That child fell repeatedly, but nobody looked at that child and said, apparently, walking isn't going to be for you. The falling is part of learning how to balance yourself. But somewhere in adulthood, we decided that failing means that we weren't qualified to do something. We got to get that stigma out of our mind. What would you attempt if you weren't embarrassed by failure? What business would you start? What person would you call? What video would you make? What room would you walk into? What dream would you pressure or pursue? I mean, sometimes that question exposes just how expensive fear has become. Sacrifice the need to look perfect. Greatness is messy before it becomes impressive, guys. Give yourself permission to learn publicly, grow gradually, make corrections, and continue moving because you don't need a perfect record. You need a courage to stay in the game. Are you willing to sacrifice who you are today for who you could become tomorrow? Are you willing to sacrifice that? See, this is where everything comes together. Greatness is not single, it's not a single sacrifice. It's a series of decisions. It's choosing discipline repeatedly, it's choosing growth repeatedly, it's choosing responsibility repeatedly, and it's choosing the future repeatedly. So stop waiting for motivation because motivation is very emotional and emotions change. Some mornings you're going to wake up ready to conquer the world, while other mornings you're not going to feel like doing anything. But your future cannot depend on which version of you wakes up that morning. So every time that you tell yourself you're going to do something, do it. Every time that you keep your word to yourself, then you strengthen it. Every time, eventually, you become somebody who knows when I say, I'm going to do it, I do it. So in closing, I'm going to give you a sacrifice challenge. I want to close tonight by bringing us back to the question we started with. What are you willing to sacrifice to be great? After everything that we discussed, I don't want you answering that question emotionally. I want you answering it honestly. Maybe you need to sacrifice procrastination, maybe excuses, sleeping too late, spending money you should be investing. Maybe it's trying to make everybody happy. Maybe fear. Maybe it's the television or even social media. It could be a relationship that continuously pulled you backward. Maybe it's the belief that you're too old, too young, too late, too inexperienced, or too far behind. Now, I want you to understand something else. Sacrifice without purpose becomes suffering. Sacrifice connected to purpose becomes investment. You're not just giving something up, you're making room for something greater. And when you see somebody who has achieved something extraordinary, stop asking only, how did they do it? Ask another question, what were they willing to sacrifice that most people weren't? Because their answer may reveal more about their success than anything else. The future version of you is depending on decisions. The present version of you is making the right one. 5 years from now, you're going to meet the consequences of today's habits. The question is whether whether that meeting will be a celebration or a confrontation. So don't leave this Zoom motivated and on change. Motivation without action becomes entertainment. Decide what needs to go. Decide what needs to change. What deserves more of your time. What no longer deserve access to you, and then make the decision before your emotions have an opportunity to renegotiate it. And when somebody asks you what you sacrificed to become the person that you have become, I want you to be able to say, I sacrifice my excuses. I sacrifice my comfort. I sacrifice my fear, my need for everybody's approval. I sacrifice my habits that were keeping me average. but I never sacrificed my purpose. I never sacrificed my vision. I never sacrificed my future. And I refused to sacrifice the person I knew I was capable of becoming. Once again, I am Coach Seymour Goodness Blake, your TGB Enterprise CEO. And like I always say, winning is my only option. Back to you, Jessica.
Wow. Oh, very powerful words. Everybody, please show Coach Seymour some love in the chat. And remember, I can guarantee everyone on here, even like our coaches, have failed at something in their life. And prime example, look at Michael Jordan. He didn't make his high school basketball team at first. If he would have gave up, do you think he would have made it to where he is now? So don't ever give up. Use those failures as lessons and continue to grow. There's a reason for it. Coach Marcus, do you have anything? I don't think Coach Charlotte's on the call.
Awesome messages. I know it's almost the top of the hour, so we don't like going more than 1 hour, but great message with what you shared tonight with the small things. And Coach Seymour, sacrifices. That's something, successful people, that's what they do, right? And so and a lot of you guys don't know today is the 6 year anniversary to when I woke up in a hospital bed from a coma the doctors put me in because I was almost killed on the freeway here in Vegas by a drunk driver that decided to take his life and purposely ran into the back of my car while I was helping somebody get gasoline. I didn't see him coming, knocked me out. They thought I was dead in the car. The guy that hit me died. And so that was the 24th. So they got me out of the car, woke me up, got me out of the car, put me in the back of the ambulance, and I'm in the hospital. I woke up that morning, the next day, which is August 25th, 2020. I didn't know where I was at, didn't know how I got there. And the doctors had been in conversation with my wife and told my wife they thought I would not be able to walk, right? And they told her that if I was walking, I would need a walker to help me. And then they came and told me, hey, you have a spinal cord injury, so we don't know. We don't want to discharge you until you get movement and feeling in your legs, because that was Tuesday. And so, but that whole situation changed me and really made me recognize that life, that time is important because I could have been gone at the age of 51, 57 now, right? And my daughter hadn't even started college yet. She just graduated. So when Coach Seymour says time is more valuable and more important than money, it truly is. And from that experience there, that is what really changed me and caused me to become more focused and more diligent and the guys you see, the person you see now, be more really focused, and because I could have been gone, and my wife and daughter, they would have been taken care of. I have like life insurance, but I wouldn't have been here. So truly, guys, maximize your days, maximize your time. Don't waste time. Just and always realize that know that none of us is going to live for a thousand years, right? Many people are living life as if they have a thousand years to live. Yeah, God, He brought me through. The next day, I started having a feeling in my legs, and then I didn't listen to the doctors when they said, "Hey, you have a spinal cord injury. We don't know if you will be able to walk," right? And so I didn't listen to them, and I just thank God for healing me. And so the next day, I'm up. I started walking, right? The next day, and then Thursday they just discharged me. So, but anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to share with you guys. Just time truly is more important than money, because once you spend money or lose it, you can make money back. But time, right? When you ask people in life, when you ask anyone if if you gave them $1 million today, would they take it? And they'll say, yeah, I'll take it. But then if you tell them, well, as soon as that money hits your bank account, you have to die. Will they take that $1 million still? No. So time's more important, guys. So thank you guys for all showing up. Appreciate you guys being here. I'll turn it back over to you, Jessica. And thanks, Coach Seymour. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Thursday will be 2 years from my major accident. Granted, I wasn't in like you, but it was sure an eye opener to know that at any given time, something that devastating can happen to you. And I was just sitting at a red light. So that was a very big eye opener for me. Time is very precious. Make the most of it and give people their flowers while they're here. Don't wait until they're gone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Coach Seymour. Thank you, Coach Marcus.
You're welcome. And like you said, time is valuable. We don't know when our time is. 4 days ago, Dolly Parton said she still had a lot to do, and she is gone today. So
Hmm.
you never know. You never know. But thanks everyone for showing up tonight. I appreciate everyone that came out. I love you guys, and see y'all tomorrow on the call.
Stay safe, everyone.
All right, good night, you guys.